factoring is factoring always has a quadratic. So it's an x squared, an x, and a number. There were special cases that I wanted to go over with you that would have 4 terms or 2 terms, but those are much easier. So you shouldn't have trouble with those. It's the ones with the 3 terms that I think give kids the most problems. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to find factors of this last number that are going to add up to the number in the middle, the b term. Now, when there's nothing in front of the x squared, that's where I have some shortcuts for you. So if you look at 20, you do factors of 20. 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 3 doesn't go into 20, 4 times 5. And then when you start overlapping, that's it. So those are going to be your only factors. So that's what I do is I just count 1 to 10 and see what the factors are in there. So you want to try to find the ones where you can get a positive 9. So obviously this one's nice and easy because 4 plus 5 gives you 9. So that's all you need to do. We've got a positive 4 and a positive 9, or a positive 5. That'll add up to 9, and positive 4 times positive 5 will give you the 20. So what this does is it just factors into x plus 4 and x plus 5. So you get to go straight to your answer when there's nothing in front of your x squared term, and that's it. If you wanted to check your answer, you could FOIL, multiply here and multiply there, and you should end up with the same answer. But that's all you have to do for these. Okay, so let me give you another one. Let me give you this one, and then I can give you the shortcuts and the little tricks I was talking about. So factors of 72, you got 1 and 72, 2 and 36, right? Yes. 3 goes 24 times, 4 goes 32, so 18 times. 5 does not go 6, goes 12 times, right? 60, 72, yes. 7, 8 times 9. Okay, so these are all my factors. Then I start overlapping with the numbers so I know I'm done. Okay, so these are all my factors of 72. I need the ones that are going to give me 14. Now, if you add all of these, none of these are going to give you 14. But if you subtract these, you'll end up getting 14. But you have to do negative 4 and positive 18. So here's basically what's going on. If you get a negative here, these need to multiply to give you a negative. The only way to multiply 2 numbers to get a negative is if one's plus and one's minus. So this is going to be the sign that goes with the bigger number because you need them to add up to a positive. So if you do that, if you see that you have a negative here, that means they need to multiply to give you negative. So you need 1 plus and 1 minus. Whatever that is, that sign goes with the bigger factor. So that means you could just do this to make less thinking, and you know the negative is going to go with the smaller, and then just see which pair gives you this positive 14. And then those will be your answers. So you have x minus 4 and x plus 18. It's a little easier over here because if you get a positive, then they either both have to be positive or both have to be negative. Because to get a positive, when you times 2 things, the sign's got to be the same. So this sign is what both of them are going to be. So it depends on your second sign. If your second sign's a plus, they're either both positive or both negative. Whatever that first sign is, they'll both be that. If you have a negative in there, that means you're going to have one of each. This sign will always go with the bigger factor. So those are like my little shortcuts that I like to use. Now is when you come into the problem with if there's something in front of x squared besides 1. Even if it's a negative 1, it's going to mess you up. So if it's a negative 1, the first thing you want to do, if you don't have just a regular 1, the first thing you want to do, and this is super important for all factoring, is you need to check for a GCF. Okay, that is the most important thing. So no matter what you see, no matter how many terms you have, no matter what, when you're factoring, if that term is not a 1, you want to check for a GCF every time. Okay, GCF is the greatest common factor. So that's if a number goes into all the other numbers. So I have a negative 1 here. You don't want that. If you can get rid of something in front of the x squared and pull that out like a GCF, you want to do that. So if I do that, I'm left with x squared minus 13x plus 12. And then you don't have to do anything with this. You can just stick it with your answer at the end. So you don't have to even think about that one anymore. Just don't forget about it like a lot of people do. Then you can go back, you can go back to your normal rules. So my rule was if this is a plus, both the signs are going to be the same, and both of them are going to be whatever that one is. So factors of 12, I've got 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4, and then we're overlapping. So we know both need to be negatives, and you want to find the one that gives you negative 13, which is right here. So the minus 12 and the negative 1. So I got x minus 1, x minus 12. Okay, I had a lot more examples, but I wanted to do this one right here. The reason why I wanted to do this one is because factors of 6 are 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. And this could be tricky because you could get 5 either way. So you kind of have to use those tricks that I was talking about to get that. It needs to be a negative 6, which means you get one sign of each. So you can't do negative 2 and negative 3, even though that gives you negative 5. If you multiply them, it doesn't work. It doesn't give you negative 6. Negative 2 times negative 3 is going to give you a positive 6. So you kind of have to use those signs. I need one sign of each. And if you get one sign of each, then the bigger one is going to get this. So the bigger of the two factors gets the negative, the smaller of the two factors gets the positive. So now you can see that it's 1 minus 6. And there might be a couple of other examples where you could have other options that add up to that middle term. So if you've got a negative, you need one of each. If it's a positive, then they're both pluses. Sometimes they don't factor. If they don't factor at all, then you put prime or you just rewrite the problem. Okay, so that's one of the IXLs that you'll be seeing. The other one is when you have something, so we're going to have something actually in front of our x squared term. So up here it says, what's the expression? This only has two things, but I can pull out a GCF. So GCF, the biggest number that divides into 6 and 9 is 3. And both of them have an n. So when you pull a GCF out, you take the smaller exponent. So 6n squared divided by 3n is 2n. And then 9n divided by 3n is 3. And that's all you would do with that one. Now up here, remember what I said, anytime you have something in front of your x squared, you look for a GCF. Because in that case, 4 divides into all of those numbers. So if I divide by 4, 20 divided by 4, and negative 56 divided by 4, this is how it would look. And then you factor like normal. Remember, if you got a GCF, you don't do anything else with it. You just stick it with your answer at the end. So now when we finish factors of 14, 1 and 14, 2 and 7, and that is it. So this means one sign of each, and this is the bigger one. So that's going to get, plus is going to go with the bigger of the two factors. The ones that give you 5, negative 2 plus 7 gives you 5. So this is it. You'll be factoring a lot in Algebra 2. Okay, now the last ones, that's what the first IXL is going to be on. The second IXL is going to be on these with the numbers in front. So I can't pull a GCF out. 11 is prime. So it's like if 11 doesn't go into all of these, which it doesn't, no GCF. So what you have to do is you have to multiply these. So 2 times 12 gives you 24. So I'm going to do factors of 24. Those are all my factors. Okay, same rules here. I've got a plus, so both are the same. Both are going to be pluses. So everything is going to be a plus. You want to find the ones that give you 11, which are here. Now, since you have this, you cannot go straight to your answer and just say x plus 3 and x plus 8 because this 2 won't show up. So there are 2 different ways to do it. A lot of teachers show it with the x and they do all these weird things. That's a different way to do it. I don't like it as much. I like to do grouping. So grouping means you're going to replace this with those because 3x plus 8x is 11x. So I'm not changing the value. I'm just changing how it looks. So instead of 11x, I'm plugging that stuff in. And then I've got my plus 12 here. So I just rewrote the equation and then just substituted. Instead of this, I put those in there. Grouping, which I'm pretty sure we went over early in like August, looks like this. So you're pulling out GCFs. My blue GCF is just x. And if you divide it out, you're left with this. Whatever that sign is, bring it down. My red GCF is going to be 4. So if I divide by 4, 12 divided by 4 is 3. It's going to look like this. And to check and make sure that these that you're doing it correctly, these should match, which they do. So your answers are your GCFs, the x plus 4, and the matching ones are your other answer. Okay, and that's all we're doing. So I'll do one more with you for that. Over here again, no GCF. Always, always, always check for a GCF first. If there isn't one, like here, we're going to multiply. 4 times 3 is 12. So here are my factors of 12. Look at your sign, it's a minus. So that means I need one to be negative, one to be positive. And my bigger factor is going to get the negative. So the ones that work that give me this -4 right there is going to be right here. So I'm going to throw the x's back in there. And then I'm going to replace this with those. So I've got 4x squared. And then instead of this, I'm putting in plus 2x minus 6x. And then minus 3. And then I can do my grouping. So my GCF here is 2x. If I divide by 2x, I'm left with this. And my GCF here, make sure you bring that sign, whatever that sign is, bring it down. My GCF here is 3. And you're really dividing by a -3. So -6x divided by -3 is positive. -3 divided by -3 is a positive one. Parentheses match, so I know I did it right. Your final answer, put your GCFs together. 2x minus 3. And the matching, 2x plus 1 is your other. So that's what the second chunk will be about. Okay, so that's about it for those. I had a couple more examples, but I think you get the process. It's the same every time. The only thing you need to watch for is if there isn't a GCF, you still need a placeholder here. So you can still do a minus or a plus 1 if there is no GCF for that second chunk.